of fees on a whole lot of different industries and on the citizens of Arkansans. I don't think that we ought to have legislation that ties the government's hands to not fee this industry. This resolution would open the door for a discussion, should there be a need to impose fees on the crypto mining industry.
Representative Wardlaw, for what purpose?
Question.
You're recognized.
So I understand this bill or this resolution to introduce a bill correctly is you're imposing a fee which would be a tax, correct?
Representative Wardlaw, you know as well as I do, there's a big difference between fees and taxes.
Follow up?
You're recognized.
Can you please enlighten us on that difference? Because a fee to the government is still a tax on the people that had to pay it.
I would be happy to, and I would say this. You're right, and I was joking earlier, but you're absolutely right. If we're going to have Chinese foreign operatives here in Arkansas using our power, taking our land, diminishing our property values, and I think the state ought to have the ability to impose fees on them like they impose on all the rest of us, all the time, every day. That I'd ask for a good vote.
Representative Rose, for what purpose?
Had a question.
You're recognized.
Representative Miller, didn't you earlier speak to there being good actors in this industry? Is that correct?
That's correct.
So your follow-up, so your position on this would be, regardless of those good actors, we should institute fee tax levied on them as well because of the bad actors?
Representative Rose, I'm not running a bill today. I'm running a resolution that would allow for the discussion and the investigation into this by a committee of our colleagues to see what would be best. Not running a bill.
A follow-up? I understand. I just was replying to your statement that that would be why you'd have the fee is for the bad actors, and I was curious to your thoughts of the ones that you referred to as good actors. Would this apply to them as well?
Without running the risk of getting way off the topic here, I would say that my goal would be to create a fair playing field. I think a lot of other industries are feed. There's fees levied. Why would we not regulate and do that if the committee or whoever's looking into this finds that it's necessary in this industry? Why would we just exempt them right off the bat like they have been?
Thank you for taking my question.
Representative Unger, for what purpose?
Question.
You're recognized.
Representative Miller, I'm under the impression that these crypto mines have to post a bond specifically because of this electricity usage. Am I wrong?
I wouldn't know, sir. I'm not a crypto mine bond posting expert. I just want our body to have the ability to have the conversation and come up with the legislation necessary. I'd ask for a good vote.
Representative Miller has explained the resolution. Would anyone like to speak against the resolution? Representative Ray, you recognize to speak against the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, this is the last one I'm going to speak on today, hopefully this whole session. This resolution includes a new tax. You can call it a fee if you want. They're not the same thing. A fee is they are substantively different things. A fee is basically for a specific use. A tax is to raise money. And I appreciate Representative Wardlaw pointing that out. This bill is fairly similar to a provision that was proposed in President Biden's 2025 budget that instituted a 30% excise tax on digital asset mining. I didn't come down here to raise taxes on Arkansans, on businesses, or on individuals, and I don't plan to start. And honestly, this bill, I think, is probably the worst of the batch. It is essentially a de facto ban on Bitcoin mining. It does not say that in the legislation. It doesn't outright prohibit it. It just taxes it to a level where it doesn't make any sense for anyone to engage in it. It would sort of be like saying, well, I'm not going to ban firearms. I'm just going to slap a $100 per box tax on the ammunition. That's essentially how this would function. So, again, I would ask that we vote no on this one, and then we can take up the others.
Representative Duffield, for what purpose?
Question.
You recognize.
Representative Ray, how many current crypto mining operations are you aware of that are Arkansas owned and operated?
I don't know the number that are owned by, do you say Arkansas owned? I don't know the breakdown on that, but I will say, to your point, I do favor doing something to prohibit foreign ownership by China and other covered entities, which is a provision that's going to be contained in these other bills that we're going to hopefully take up. Thank you.
Representative Ray has spoken against the resolution. Would anyone like to speak for the resolution? Would anyone like to speak against? For? Representative Flowers, you recognize to speak for the resolution.
Just this issue of taxes, I was looking at the bill that 93 of us voted for when Act 851 was passed, and I just found it interesting that that issue came up. And on the second page, it says that through the enactment of this subchapter, the General Assembly intends to, 1, recognize that data centers create jobs, pay taxes, and provide general economic value to local communities and this state, and 2, clarify the guidelines needed to protect data asset miners from discriminatory industry-specific regulations and taxes. It seems to me that this bill was initially intended to recognize that taxes are a part of what these data centers would do, and that there needed to be some protections. However, there aren't enough protections for the people and for our communities. And while I do, again, believe that we should have a special session to deal with this, among many other issues that we need to be dealing with in this state in a special session, I just find it ironic that this has devolved to a back and forth about fees and taxes when in the language of the initial bill, it recognized that taxes would be collected by these data centers. And for that reason, I'm voting yes.
Representative Flowers has spoken for the resolution. Would anyone like to speak against the resolution? Representative Richardson, you recognize to speak against the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was going to kind of help address that. Yes, instead of forming a question, I thought it'd be easier to do it in this fashion. So the data centers do pay significant taxes. All data centers do, and that's primarily due to excise taxes associated with electricity. So they use a significant amount of electricity, which we've already heard, which is actually a good thing for our co-ops and our electrical companies. That excess wattage can be used in that fashion. They get to charge for it. We have excess capabilities because we can always turn these data centers off if we need it for other purposes. But in that process, they pay a significant excise tax. I think I was told recently that they're in the neighborhood of 12.2 for this year, 12.2 million to be paid in excise taxes for electricity this year alone. So a big help to the Arkansans across the board.
Representative Richardson has spoken against the resolution. Would anyone like to speak for the resolution? Would anyone like to speak against the resolution? Representative Miller, you're recognized to close for the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members, I appreciate your indulgence today. I know it's been a long day. Couple of things. Thank you, Representative Flowers, for coming down and pointing that out in the original bill. Folks, we've heard all kind of stuff, job creation, all this stuff. Where is that? I haven't seen it. And listen, I don't like the ideas of fees and taxes being increased. But what I don't like more than that is giving the Chinese a free ride in Arkansas. This body has voted to not allow them to buy farmland, no-fly drones, all this kind of stuff. Why would we give them free access to our power grid and everything else and have no mechanism in place for fees should that need arise? And with that, I would appreciate a good vote.
Representative Miller is closed for the resolution. The question before the House is the passage of House Resolution 1019. Prepare the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Cast up the ballot, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 41 yeas, 36 nays, and 13 present, the resolution has failed. Madam Clerk, please read House Resolution 1009.
House Resolution 1009 by Representative McClure to authorize the introduction of non-appropriation bill to amend the Arkansas Data Centers Act of 2023 and to prohibit foreign party-controlled ownership of a digital asset mining business.
Representative McClure, you're recognized to explain the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Don't we wish we had the information that we have today when we originally voted on this? It would have been a different day. I want to thank you, all of you, for your questions, your comments, your input, because we do have a serious situation and we need to address it. We're all elected to come here and in part to fix problems. Sometimes you fix one problem and in doing so, you reveal another problem. Initially, it was my intent to protect the power generation and power grid, protect Arkansans on the issue of electrical power and transmission, to make sure that we didn't have grid failure that we have seen in other states. That portion was written with the help of the Arkansas Public Service Commission and with our electric utility providers. There's been, not today, but there have been comments about a rush at the end of the last session. We all know what was going on, how fast it was. The bill began being drafted in February, and as we moved through, on our end, we moved it out, moved it to the other end. There was another amendment added to it by the municipal power providers. Of course, at that point in time, we were out of time, and it came back. We had to get it through committee and back through. Obviously, there have been unintended consequences on other portions of the bill also. There was an underestimation of the number of crypto mine operators who had already begun building before the bill was passed or had already purchased land with building plans. So what does this resolution do if we pass it and it's sent to committee? These will be the topics that the fine details will be worked out on. It clarifies, amends, and confirms local control to counties and to cities. They can handle such issues as notification on their new community for any new locations that are going in. Noise reduction. I don't need to go through everything that we have rehashed here of how bad it is. But noise reduction would be reduced by requiring fully enclosed envelope on all sides. And I know there's debate over the enclosed envelope. Or 2,000 feet from the nearest residential or commercial structure. In addition, use a closed loop liquid or submerged cooling that is sealed. Water usage has been a huge concern. I have no idea how one of these places used 1.5 million gallons. So if it's a sealed system, that's a good start. The exception would be if a county or city have sites that are zoned for use that allow different areas. So what about those who violate the noise? Who would you call? If the power goes back to the city and to the county and they have the ordinances, that's where it's going to start. If they don't, and we have this on the books or something similar to the books, I think what you will hear in H.R. 1020 is that they will contact the Department of Energy and Environment. They will be responsible for monitoring the sound limits, and I may be corrected on that in just a moment. Landowners that are within 2,000 feet of the nearest property line of a crypto mining facility may file suit to enforce compliance with city and county ordinances. One of the things that's been an issue is who is going to enforce the laws. Local control can regulate the water permitting and the amount of water usage. Our rural water supply systems are much smaller and much different than our municipal supply systems. They should be able to regulate from what they have there. Prohibited foreign ownership. I didn't say China. I said prohibited foreign ownership of a citizen of any country that is on the U.S. list of international traffic and arms regulations. As we have seen this last weekend, this world can change rapidly. I do not want to limit something to China. I want to limit it to any adversary of the United States. Well, who would I report concerns of ownership to? That would go to the Arkansas Office of Agriculture Intelligence Review ownership, to review the ownership. That is the group that is now reviewing the ownership of the agricultural lands that are being purchased. They can refer it to the AG office. Then if those issues are not resolved, it can move to a judicial foreclosure. China is a problem, but so are some other countries. So let's not limit ourselves just to China, but anybody that's deemed an enemy of the United States. There's many details that we have to work out, without any doubt. This also includes an emergency clause. It includes an emergency clause with no grandfather provisions. This will include any new facilities that are currently being proposed or currently being built. I'm sure that's going to stir some discussion in committee also. The time to comply for existing facilities will be set at 90 days. Retroactively, if an existing facility is less than 2,000 foot from a residence or commercial building, after 90 days, if they haven't followed whatever we vote on, then they will be able to file suit for compliance. This is broad. It addresses all the main topics. And I feel if we get it to committee, we can work out the details and pass something that will protect Arkansans. And with that, I would appreciate a good vote.
Representative McClure has explained the resolution. Would anyone like to speak against the resolution? I'd like to speak for the resolution. Representative McClure is closed for the resolution. The question before the House is the passage of House Resolution 1009. Prepare the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted?